so much for joining us here today. I'm going to give some intros for our speakers. We're going to talk for about 40 minutes, and then there'll be time for Q&A at the end. So think of your questions for our panelists, and we're going to get right into the conversation.
Let's do it. Sounds good.
Well, I'm going to intro you guys first.
Okay.
Everybody wants the deets, even though I think pretty much everyone here probably knows you both. Eva Chen is born in New York, born and raised in New York, and had a brief stint as pre-med.
Yep.
But then decided to move on to fashion. You've worked at Harper's Bazaar, Elle, Teen Vogue, before becoming editor-in-chief of Lucky. And now you are the VP of Fashion and Shopping Partnerships at Instagram. You're also an author. You have 2 books, I Am Golden and Juno Valentine and the Magical Shoes. You currently live in New York and with your husband and 3 children who are adorable.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Winnie Harlow is an international model, actress, and now entrepreneur. You did a stint on America's Next Top Model, but you have also appeared in magazines like Vogue, Elle, Marie Claire, Harper's Bazaar, and Allure. And you've walked so many runways, I'm not gonna bore you all with all the names, but most notably this year you launched your skincare brand K-Skin, and you were also named to the Forbes 30 Under 30.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you.
You gotta put that in your Instagram bio.
Right.
Brag about that one.
Yeah, for real. I mean, just missed it.
Missed it by like a decade.
Okay, so this conversation today is all about democratizing beauty. And when we talk about that, I think in the 10 years that I've been in the industry and even in the last 2 years, this entire industry, what we consider beautiful, has really changed. And I think the young people in our nation are really pushing that change. So Eva, I would love to hear you talk a little bit about how, as a leader at Instagram, you're seeing young people use the platform to embrace their identities and shape culture.
Well, thank you, Jessica, for that warm introduction, and thank you, Winnie, for being here with us.
Thank you.
I think she is like an exemplification of what beauty means today. It's so individual. It's about confidence. It's about power. It's about strength. I remember growing up when I was like 15 years old, an impressionable teenager, and there was one standard of beauty. It was a certain skin color. It was usually blonde hair, blue eyes, all American. And I never saw anyone who looked like me. And I'm so gratified that I'm raising kids now at a time where beauty can mean anything. It went from the communal in terms of like, this is what society has deemed as beautiful to what do you find beautiful? What do you find inspiring? I've worked at Instagram now for 7 years. I worked at Condé Nast, as a magazine editor for 7 years before that. And even during my time as a magazine editor, I saw it shift. I worked at Teen Vogue, and it became a very conscious undertaking where every single editorial I planned, every single cover shoot I planned, every single thing that I did, I thought, how can we make people feel seen?
Yeah.
How can we make people feel included? And I do think Instagram has been a huge part of that. You can find your people on Instagram, whether we're talking about beauty, whether we're talking about travel, whether we're talking about like I crowdsourced ideas for where to eat in Aspen on Instagram. You can find voices and opinions on Instagram. And whatever your definition of beauty is, I guarantee you there's someone else who shares that, and you can have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I think what you were saying about being a magazine editor, it's the same today. When we create Allure, I think even more so trying to push that boundary. And still there's room for us to grow in who's seeing themselves in the pages of publications so that they can feel accepted. Because the same thing, when I first started, I'm sure for you, Winnie, as well, there were no curvy brown girls with natural hair in the magazines. And so wanting to create that space where young girls coming up can see that, or young men, people who consider them non-binary can see themselves is really important. Winnie, for you, you were diagnosed with vitiligo at 4, and I think you talk often about how you were bullied growing up for that, but now your difference is your power. So how do you feel that, in this way, this day and age, you've been able to use your difference as power and kind of grow it as your best asset?
I think it's an honor for me to be able to be a part of this new wave of understanding and appreciation of difference. Even when I came into the fashion industry, like you said, there was never a curly black girl with, a curvy black girl with curly hair. There was never a girl with vitiligo. There was never a lot of things. And so even I have seen it being in the fashion industry, how much has changed.
So we've talked a lot about how when we all started, there was this ideal, perfect face that we were all trying to mimic and reach the peak. It was the aspiration. But now there's a different element of this happening with filters and Facetune, even though I don't think they call it that anymore.
Do they not call it that anymore?
I think they call it something different. It's trying to rebrand.
I think there's so many different things now that you can use.
To change your entire
Yeah, exactly.
face.
I think there's multiple names.
So, do we think there's going to be a fatigue at any point of people wanting to change their face to be an ideal? I think in some ways the ideal has just changed to something different.
Yeah, I think we've already reached that point.
Yeah.
I think we reached that point a few years ago, actually. Having worked at Instagram for 7 years, and I remember when I joined Instagram, who remembers their first Instagram post ever? No one does. Okay, yay. Thank you for representing. I appreciate it. I remember my first Instagram post. It was heavily filtered. I think the filter I used maybe was Kelvin. It's like a really bad one in retrospect. And I think during the timeline of Instagram, we went through a phase where people started on Instagram being really raw, authentic, posting their oatmeal for breakfast, posting everything. It was literally a visual timeline of their day. And then somewhere along that, I would say in the first 5 years of Instagram, the pendulum swung. And there were people, really amazing, bloggers especially, and photographers started posting editorials that at the time had only been seen in magazines.
Yeah.
And that started happening when I was working at Teen Vogue and at Lucky. And this was what was like getting engagement, because people were like, I have never seen this before. It's so polished, it's so professional. I've never seen this on social media. And then it became saturated, where every single picture, and I live near the NYU campus, every single weekend I would see college students holding a bunch of balloons, doing shoots in the crosswalk, narrowly avoiding being hit by a car.
Yeah.
And it became overproduced. And I think in the last 3 years, the pendulum has swung back. People want to see authenticity. They don't want to see the heavily filtered, unless it's a comical filter that's used ironically. I can think of a lot of friends who are models who'll do the sad face filter, or the kind of devil ear filter.
Sad face is a favorite right now.
Sad face is a true favorite, or the wavy kind of comical filter, or the voice changing filters. But I think what people are craving on Instagram right now is just a sense of who you are as a person. They want to see your journey. I've known Winnie now, we've known each other for years. I was looking through my Instagram, and I found a picture of us when you came to visit a few years ago. Obviously, it was pre-COVID. And she's always had stunning skin, just literally a glow. You've always loved skincare. And I think seeing her journey as an entrepreneur is what I'm interested in from her Instagram. So I don't think there's one definition of how to use Instagram anymore, as long as it's true to yourself.
Yeah, I think I've noticed as well, Reels have become way more of a thing on Instagram. When I'm scrolling on my feed, I barely even see pictures. But what that kind of says to me is people are craving that raw, you don't have that, perfect filter on your face when you're doing a reel. It's a video. So it kind of gives you that real taste of someone, their personality, their voice, a real connection with someone through video rather than heavily edited pictures.
Right, I think what we're getting at is it's no longer about the destination, it's about the journey, right? People want to see the behind the scenes, what it's really like to work at Instagram or go to the Met Gala or do those things, not just the pretty picture that runs on Getty, because it's a little bit of the curtain lifting. Maybe that's what we're hoping to get at.
Yeah, think about red carpet prep, which I know Allure covers a lot, in terms of the Oscars and the Grammys, et cetera. You see the same picture of the same celebrity on the red carpet in every single news outlet. So what's always more interesting is seeing the celebrity with the face mask on, with 2 hands being manicured, and the stylist frantically zipping up the dress. It's those behind the scenes kind of raw, real moments actually make you appreciate the final moments so much more. And so when people ask me, when people come to me and they're like, oh, like, need some Instagram advice, I'm like, don't overthink it.
Yeah. She literally just told me that 5 minutes
I literally, like, she was like, I have some questions about Instagram. I was like, my top advice is don't overthink it.
You know, not this past Met, but the Met Gala prior last year during Fashion Week, September, one of my most liked pictures from all my Met posts was me sitting on the toilet after after the Met, because I was wearing a bodysuit that zipped in the back and I couldn't get it down the whole dinner. And so I had to run back to my hotel once it was done and just like believe myself. And that was so raw. And I mean, my boyfriend was like, why would you do that? That is not cute. And I was like, it's not the point. Like, it wasn't to be cute. It was a real like drama that I went through going to Met Gala. So people really love that. And it's so true.
People can identify with it.
100%.
Like, we've all been to an event where we're like, oh my gosh, I'm very uncomfortable, I'm starving, and yet I have to go to the bathroom, and it's like I can't get out of this dress. And they always identify more with that. I remember talking to the actress Yara Shahidi, and she was mentioning that, like, she was like, it's so strange when I post pictures of myself studying, that gets so many more likes than red carpet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's because it's like people identify with that. They can feel like, and they feel who you are as a person. They could feel what you're going through.
Yeah. I think also something that obviously with the culture being what it is right now, there's still a lot of negativity that I'm sure you face, Winnie, and you face, Eva, on social media. So how do we create a better place, right? A more equal place that we can be more democratic, where there's not so much hate? And I know it's not up to each of us. We can never do it. But I think we're talking a lot this week about all the hate that lives in our world. So I think as an editor, sometimes I find it is my responsibility, but what can we all do to kind of limit the hate?
I think it is our responsibility individually as well. Of course, as a platform, Instagram is always thinking about ways to improve the platform. So there are a lot of tools, like there are hidden comments where you can kind of hide and restrict. If someone's been bullying you on Instagram, you can block them and also all future accounts they create, which especially for public figures is a really important tool.
Right.
There's comment moderation, but I also think promoting positivity in general, and so you're able to pin positive comments in your comments so that people can see the kind of comment that you as a public figure are spotlighting. I mean, I think it's a hard time right now. I remember when I worked at Teen Vogue, pre-Instagram even existing, it's a hard time.
Yeah.
Because people can hide behind
The screen.
The screen, a laptop, and say things to people's faces that they would, to them on social media, they would never say in person. But I do think it's up to each and every one of us to promote positivity and then take advantage of the full suite of tools that we have.
I also think it's about taking back your power, which sometimes is something that like seems so hard to do and so far-fetched, easier said than done. But even when it came to, for example, when I was bullied, like when I finally had that thought of, why do I care so much about what other people think about me or what I look like? Like, I actually think I look bomb. So why does, when someone says I don't look beautiful or whatever, bother me so much? It's kind of the same thing on social media. Like, I realized when I first started getting notoriety from the social platforms, I was so focused and I would reply so much. Like, someone would be like, oh, she's this, she's that. And I'd be like, well, actually, fact check, da-da-da. Like, that's the worst thing you can do, is adding fuel to the fire. Even to this day, sometimes I'll come across like yesterday I did a talk and someone said, I think the quote that I said was from my grandfather that gave it to my mom, do what you love because it will never feel like a job.
Yeah.
And someone commented on the page like, that's not advice, that's a quote, acting like her grandfather made that quote. And I was like,
Just
Let
why
it
do
go.
I care?
Yeah, let it go.
Yeah, why do I care?
release.
Sometimes like it's like, oh, like you bring up my grandfather's name, I get a little defensive, da-da-da, whatever. But I'm just like, what purpose does it do in anyone's life for me to feed the fire for negativity? So again, like while it is, Instagram's job and the commenter's job and all that to not add that negativity into the world, it's also our job to like take that power back and be like, if I focus, like you said, pinning those positive comments, if I focus on the positive,
Right.
it attracts that positive to me.
Right, so everybody breed positivity.
It's hard. I'm not saying
That's
it's
the
easy.
message.
It's
That's the
not
message.
easy at all, but yeah,
Easy at all.
it's the best route.
So you mentioned, we've been talking a lot about how social media allows us to get behind the scenes of some things that have been very exclusive, right? Fashion being one of those things. And now you can see the runway, you can see behind the scenes of editorials, all through social media. So Eva, how has technology like Instagram made fashion more accessible?
Oh my gosh. You know, I grew up, I'm first generation American. My parents owned a small business. I was not at all part of the fashion world and community and didn't have access to that. I don't know if you guys feel the same way too.
Oh yeah.
It always just seemed like something so far removed from me. Didn't understand how magazines were made. Didn't ever imagine that I would be in the room as like, you know, same room as designers and models and stylists. And I do feel like it's a different time right now, because if you are a young person and you're interested in becoming an editor-in-chief, or you want to be an entrepreneur like Winnie is, you can learn about it through Instagram. I remember the first time, I didn't actually even work at Instagram at the time, but I remember seeing Pat McGrath, the makeup artist, backstage at a show. We were in Paris backstage at the Stella McCartney show. I was trying to convince her to, you know, do a photo shoot for Teen Vogue. That's how you get time.
Yeah,
with
you have to
Pat
lobby.
McGrath. You really have to like stalk her and show up where she is and be like, so you're going to do the shoot, right? And it's
You've
like,
seen me 10 times now. We're friends.
yeah, exactly. And I remember her saying like, Eva, I heard about this platform called Instagram. Should I join it? Like, what is it? This is before I worked at Instagram, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like perfect. Because like you will be able to show not just the finished look, you can show the, like, you know, the whole path. People want to see she travels with like 86 suitcases like during Fashion Week. People want to see the suitcases. People want to see you in the back of the scooter going from, you know, the Dior show to the Prada show. Like people want to see all of that. And so I think the curtain has been lifted, as you said. And I don't know that it should go back, because I think that the opportunity this presents people to learn about what could be their future passion, could be their future careers. The posts that you guys are posting inspires the next generation, and I think that's so important.
Yeah, I agree. I think it also keeps us more accountable, right? When we share the way we're supposed to, it means that, you know, we're going the extra step to make sure what we're doing is going to be the right way, I think, in a weird way.
Absolutely.
So Winnie, how do you think this fashion industry has stepped up to kind of become more open and more democratized, especially for someone like you who, like we've all said, we didn't see ourselves 10 years ago?
I definitely think that being able to have a representation now that we never had before, seeing people that we feel like we see ourselves in on covers and magazines, on runways, has made such a big change and has been such a big change. But I think when it comes to representation and being fully immersed in all diverse conversations, it goes further than just what you see and what's in the ads. It has to be behind the scenes as well. So I think one thing that still needs to be worked on in the fashion industry is like education on Black hair and education on Black skin and, you know, all these things. People of color in general, we all have different skin types, are more likely to our backgrounds and like different things that go on with our hair that are, you know, specific to our backgrounds as well. And I think for so long, there was a lot of the same person on the runway. And so it was perfectly fine at the time to have those people that only knew how to do those styles and those textures and those, you know, types of hair. But as we open up and like broaden this gate of like who is the ideal of beauty, which is really everyone, it needs to be reflected behind the scenes as well. And that comes to like editors, that comes to CEOs, like everything that has to do with the background. That's real diversity that can help it show up as well in those things that we see when it comes to the ads, when it comes to the runways. But yeah, I think something that I always talk about is my experiences that I've had, even from being new in the fashion industry, when like my hair was completely damaged and broken off.
Yeah.
I remember I used to wear my hair like yours when I first started in the industry, And so I came like this. I know you have a twist out. I had a perm rod set, and they were like, we want it to be bigger, so we're gonna wet it.
Oh.
I know that hit you in your soul.
No, and that's the end of the story.
I like the visceral reaction of the audience who were like, whoa.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. And after, well, if anyone doesn't know what would happen to her hair or my hair, this is the wig. It's not my real hair.
No, it is. You bought it.
Yeah, it's mine. I own it. I own it. But what happens to our hair when we wet it is it shrinks. It doesn't get bigger. It gets smaller. And so they wet it, and it got smaller. And then they said, you know what? We want to bring it back to what it was before. It was a little bit bigger before. So we're going to straighten it while it's wet.
Yeah.
And so that resulted in my hair damaging and breaking off, which is why I like to wear wigs now, because I just want to protect the health of my own hair. And I don't want to feel like I'm being a diva or whatever that people make it seem when you say like you stand up for yourself in those situations. But yeah, I think I've heard a lot of those stories from women of color and Black women in the industry, and that's, I feel like, such an easy change. Education is just such an easy change. So I think that's a change I'm still waiting on.
I mean, it's so crazy to me that, so the model Iman started her cosmetics line decades ago.
Yes.
Because she did not have, she's one of the original supermodels.
Supermodels, yeah.
She literally did not have products that for her skin tone. So she created it. I don't think, it's gotten better.
Yeah.
But I do think there's so much, and you know, because you get every single beauty product. She has the best job, by the way. I will say, as a former beauty editor, she has the best job. It's great. Really products flowing into your office like a river. But you've seen everything.
Yeah.
I think there has been improvement, especially in the last 5 years.
Sure.
But there can be more.
Yeah, there's been improvement, I think, in makeup, but what we're also, we need more improvement in hair. And I think what you're saying is so true about it's not just what we see that matters, it's the behind the scenes. Because I think we need more chemists who are of color, we need more people, executives who are of color, because we need more people in the pharmaceutical industry who are of color 100%. To really help this become a more inclusive industry. And I think your story about hair, I still don't go to beauty events where they do blowouts.
Right.
Yeah, I won't do it. You know, it's like I tell the PR person, it's gonna be bad for you and it's gonna be bad for me. Because then I'm gonna have to go on Instagram and be like, they messed up my hair, and it's not gonna be good for anyone.
And I think part of it is finding your power and your voice. And I think that's different as well. I mean, like Winnie, obviously when you are walking the runway or you are doing an event, people want you because they know how powerful your voice is and that you have an audience of followers who trust you. And so I think that that's one of the things that's changed in the fashion industry as well. You have models who have considerable clout and power, and so I think there is a responsibility for people who have a platform and have a voice to use it. And so I think about the model Paloma SLR. That's her last name, right?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm very tired. So you know, Paloma, for instance, or Precious Lee. These are people who speak up about sizing. These are Ashley Graham, for instance. It's like she has posted photos where she's just like, this is
not fitting.
Not fitting. This is how is this my size? I don't understand. And so I think finding your power and your voice is incredibly important as well.
Yeah. And also being an advocate for others. I think as editor-in-chief, I often find that, sometimes I'm the one in the room okay, if we're gonna shoot these people, who's doing the hair? Who's gonna take the photos? Because we wanna make sure that that person is fully accepted, making sure they feel comfortable when they're coming and being a part of what project we wanna do. I also have found that for me, Instagram is kind of like a place of discovery. I save so many photographers, so many hairstylists based on what they're doing and what I think is interesting. I've discovered and met so many people through the platform. And Eva, how are you using kind of Instagram and your social platforms to meet this new generation of designers?
I mean, it really started for me, honestly, when I was a magazine editor. I used to find, I was the first magazine editor to put influencers on the cover. I had Chiara Ferragni on the cover. And, I was always kind of sourcing designers, brands, people to put in the pages of the magazine. And I think that it's still the same case right now. I discover so many amazing small businesses through Instagram, so many people I want to support. I remember learning about the designer Hanifa through Instagram when she did her like amazing, you know, like 3D hologram show.
Yeah.
You know, like discovering like original voices in fashion commentary, like Jose Criales, who now is at Vogue Runway. You know, it can be an amazing source of discovery. Like all I have to do is like click to see who you're following, and I'll be like, okay, now I know the next generation of photographers, designers, and beauty voices. And like I said earlier, I love following the journey, right? So there's a brand called Goldie. It has like the best matcha, the most delicious collagen powder. Anyone looking for collagen powder?
I love their pineapple
It is delicious. It's like the best tasting collagen powder. And I found Trinity through Instagram. You know, so it's like, I think all these small businesses are doing so much, and we know that hundreds of millions of people are following businesses on Instagram globally. And we know that like hashtag fashion is one of the top 5 hashtags on Instagram, period. It's like, it is an amazing source of discovery. It's an amazing source for businesses, for you, for your skincare line. You know, you can show so much from an Instagram post, how you source the products, the inspiration, why your body glow resurfacing serum is unique to anything else in the market. You can use Instagram as a tool for that.
And how has Instagram been a connection tool for you with designers or the projects you're working on, or even for your skincare brand?
I mean, when I was just a girl in Toronto who worked at a call center, I would go to fashion shows in Toronto. I would do photo shoots. Photographers would reach out to me and want to shoot. And I was just doing it for fun. But I would post it on Instagram and build a following from it. And that's how so many people have seen me and how my platform has grown. So, I mean, without social media, I don't think I would have been seen. I remember feeling when I was younger like I was the only person in the world with vitiligo, because I hadn't really seen it before, except for myself. And now being on social media, like yesterday was World Vitiligo Day. And so I posted like 10 different people that I just, like, people tag me all the time who have vitiligo, like, you've given me my confidence, all these different things. So I wanted to highlight them yesterday on World Vitiligo Day. And like acknowledging right now in this moment that when I was younger, I've never seen any of these people before. But like on social media, I can go through my tagged pictures and just be like, oh my gosh, I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that. And just, you know, feel like I have a community, you know? So yeah, I think in that way, it's been really amazing. And then when it comes to creating a product line, I also love that I can show, like we were talking about with videos and stuff, how the products go on, what they look like, telling people how they feel, and like when launch dates are, all these things that you typically wouldn't be able to have that direct access with your community. You have that through socials.
I think Instagram has been, and other social media platforms have been so important in the rise of direct-to-consumer. The way of doing business for beauty it's just this new way, not even new anymore, it's been around for some time, but it allows brands to stay independent for much longer and to find their communities and find their audience for that perfect product. And I find it so interesting to watch those communities grow. Are y'all dropping in DMs? Do you connect with people via DM?
Yeah. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Oh my goodness.
Like all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think that's like it's like the funnest way to communicate. It's so easy, it's so lightweight. I can like throw a heart on like one of Winnie's stories.
Right.
DM you like the places and the profiles of like the places to go in Aspen. It's so fun and instant. And it feels very low pressure to me. And so, I mean, I'm sure I speak for everyone in this room during COVID, especially. Like, DM became a lifeline for me.
I mean, DM is how I met my boyfriend during pandemic. So.
Oh, a love story. DMs, a love story.
Yeah, so definitely a big source of connection. But also, like, I'm such a DM memer. Like, my friends will get like 10 memes from me a day. Like, I'll just be scrolling and be like, ha ha ha, so-and-so would love that. So-and-so, like, DMs are actually absolutely the greatest.
It just like feels lightweight and kind of happy and like low pressure. It's like, I know there are some people who swear by phone calls, right? Like my mom being one of them. I have some friends who are like, if it's not a 40-minute phone call, it doesn't count. But I'm your face.
I'm sorry. Don't call me for 40 minutes.
But, you know, it's just so light and like effortless and fun. But also it's like, it's a great connection tool, I think, for small businesses.
Yeah.
So many small businesses have reached out to me to be like, I'd love for you to see my line. It's a mother-daughter owned line called Find Me Now. And it's AAPI owned. And
Yeah.
they were like, we'd love to share it with like the team at Instagram's. Instagram has an account called @shop that features only small businesses. And so, you know, and they were featured. So it's like, it's an amazing tool for connection and helps you reach people you normally wouldn't be able to reach.
Yeah. I'm a DM boss, which probably isn't a good thing, but I'm often DMing my team and I'm like, okay, I don't expect you to reply to this immediately, but it is such a great way to share other people's projects and like, why are they getting to do this? We should do this. We should, you know, I'm always DMing my team different things for
When you
inspiration.
said you were a DM boss, I thought you said I DM my boss, and I was like, oh my God, she DMs Anna Wintour?
Please,
She
please.
is on Instagram, you know.
She is. She has a secret account.
She's a Finsta.
I believe that because I believe she follows.
She knows everything.
She does. I
you
believe
are
she follows
doing.
me. She's so in touch with culture.
Oh, yeah.
That, you know, I went to a Harry Styles concert the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, I went to see Harry Styles. She's like, oh yes, all the boas. And I was like, you've been to a Harry Styles concert? She's like, yes.
She's been to several Harry Styles.
Yeah. She's a Harry Styles fan, just like the rest of us.
All of us.
So one of the things when I first started this job, you know, they ask you in the interview, like, what's your weakness? And I'm like, ugh, social media.
Yeah.
You know, I've definitely been a heads down type person, but both of you have used the platform to kind of expand your careers. And so I would love to hear you talk a little bit about, you know, the Ava Chen pose and all those things that you did and how you started to share, but then how that's evolved over time.
Totally. So when I started on Instagram, backing up a bit, when I was a magazine editor, I became known as like the beauty editor who loved social media. And so I was always tweeting. I was always, when Instagram came out though, that kind of like blew everything out of the water just because fashion and beauty, as you guys know, are such visual mediums. And Instagram just like spoke to fashion and beauty and the editorial world. It was like a completely seamless transition. And so like the Eva Chen pose really started because I was taking pictures of my bags and shoes that I was wearing and carrying every day. I have a little bit of a soft spot for accessories. I love shopping for bags and shoes. And so like every day I would like take a picture of my bag and shoes and the snack I had and start posting it on Instagram. My assistant at the time, the great Christy Dash, who you know and worked with as well, Christy kept just hashtagging Eva Chen pose on all the pictures. It became something that like I became known for as well. And then thousands, I think there were over like 50,000 tags using that hashtag. It became something that people started doing. There'd be people in Tokyo doing it, in Tulsa doing it and tagging me. And so I was able to build this community. I've always been a very, I guess, approachable person, I would say. I am that person, if you ever see me in like New York City and you're in Soho and you're like, excuse me, where's Mulberry Street? I would say like, oh, it's this way. Oh, you have to go to this pizza place and there's a really good ice cream place around the corner. That's always been my personality. I've always loved to share. And Instagram just became, especially as a beauty editor, a place for me to share all that knowledge, to share the things that like the little anecdotes or the tidbits that dermatologists were sharing that didn't make it into the magazine article because the magazine article is like 600 words. And you know,
Everything gets cut.
Everything gets cut. Like the things that you want to know most about beauty, like the key ingredient, or the thing that the dermatologist is like, never eat this before an event. And you're like, what? And then you're like, I don't have room for that. I would start putting that on Instagram. And so, I mean, I think that's really how I built my voice. And I don't overthink what I share on Instagram. I think that's like, when you, like, I don't want to quote, what song is it? Free Your Mind and the rest will follow. What song is that? But there's a song that goes Free Your Mind and like the rest will, it's like really if you just get with Instagram, let go a little, and share what you love, it makes a huge difference. I remember I was meeting with the amazing and prolific designer Virgil Abloh when he first joined Instagram and Instagram stories came out. And I remember him saying like, you're telling me that if I post a picture of the matcha I'm drinking, because he was obsessed with matcha, like people will care. And I'm like, Virgil, you literally could take a picture of a cardboard box and people will care. People want to see. He was always, I mean, it was a huge loss, obviously, for the whole world, the fashion world, the art world, the creative world. But he was always so curious and open to trying new things. And And when people ask like, what's the secret? I'm like, the secret literally is just to like post what you care about. You might be like Kim Jones, who's the designer of Dior Homme and Fendi, and he's this like extremely like, you know, Kim, I'm sure like high fashion, like very, very artistic, like creative director of a fashion brand. He loves to garden and he loves animals, but he will like show that side of himself. Even though he's an incredibly reserved person, he finds a lot of like liberation in showing what he cares about in the first edition books he buys. So I think taking that step and being brave enough to show yourself, you will feel a lot freer about social media.
Yeah, I'm gonna start showing my Star Trek videos.
Yeah, I talk about like Lord of the Rings and like
Love Lord of the
literally like
Rings.
Stranger Things. I will quote like Hunger Games. It's like I'm obsessed with YA, and I think if you are, you will reach new audiences, and people will appreciate you more as like a whole human being.
Yes, and I think that what you're getting at is true. You can show your whole self.
Yeah.
Because so much of what we do, like when we go out, people see Jessica, the editor-in-chief of Allure, and it's like, but at home, I'm doing tons of different things that have nothing to do with this public persona. Right? I think these platforms have also become a way for activism, especially in the last 2 years. I think all different communities have used it to grow their space, but also get their voice heard. So what do you guys think, how have communities of color in particular used the platform to really get their messages out after this kind of tough year, 2 years that we've had, you know, after the death of George Floyd and kind of into the laws changing?
Yeah, I think especially Black people have felt silenced for a very long time.
Right.
And as we said, socials are a way for us to feel heard. And so while there is, you know, the negative side to socials, there is that positive side to having a voice and being able to feel like you are heard and you resonate with someone and they feel the same pain you feel, they feel the same happiness you feel. And so I also feel like a lot of times over the years, I feel like now because we have social media, we see so much, but it's not that it's happening more, we're just able to see it all.
It's uncovered.
It's uncovered.
Right.
And so things being able to be uncovered and seen more often, while it can be a hard burden to carry, it's also, you need to see it. Everyone needs to see it because that's how a change can be made. So I think social media being able to uncover all these stories and bring up even things of history that allow us to recognize that this stuff is not new. We have just been hidden or it's been hidden from us. And so, yeah, I really appreciate social media for being able to uncover a lot of things and allow us to speak about them and just hold conversations about what's going on in the world.
Yeah, I think so much of how we relate to movements these days is through hashtags. Stop Asian Hate, Black Lives Matter. And that's because we've been able to take this kind of revolution from the churches and the salons and things like that and bring them to our social platforms. Have you found that's true?
I mean, I think that it's impossible to talk about this without talking about, you know, Friday's, you know, decision. And I mean, personally speaking, on a personal level, the feelings that I felt on Friday, I just landed in Colorado and feeling these simultaneous feelings of like sorrow, despair, rage. And personally, it was like a lot for me to digest. And then going to Instagram and seeing that I was not alone in these feelings. Going to Instagram and seeing, like, hearing like the collective kind of cry of like, you know, change that's needed and the kind of, and then seeing and being inspired by this like snowball of these amazing people, women, men, everyone kind of saying like, we can't stand for this.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, it has become a place of solace in many ways. It can be a place of sorrow as well, especially when, you know, during the, when the death of George Floyd, you know, and seeing all those visceral kind
Very
of,
heavy.
it can feel very heavy. But then for me, kind of seeing the action, seeing the resources that people are sharing,
Fundraising.
learning about opportunities to share resources again on a personal level for the kind of the things that I want,
Right.
that I care about, like the Bridget
can
Alliance,
help.
and that can help in ways for people to find help. So whether it was the decision on Friday, Roe versus Wade, or for me on a personal level, Stop Asian Hate, when Asian elders that looked like my mom and dad were being attacked on the streets. I found that it was an opportunity for people to find their community. And so during Stop Asian Hate, which really is still happening, as is police brutality against Black people, I became friends with people that I never thought I would be in like a WhatsApp chat group with.
Yeah.
So it's like Jeremy Lin, the basketball player, Daniel Day Kim, the actor. We all have like a chat where we share news, we talk about the march that's happening, for Asian unity, and share resources. So it can become a place, a gathering spot for people as well, if you can find the hope and the silver lining.
That's a really good point too. That's where I find a lot whenever I'm feeling really hurt about something that's going on in the world. I can go to people's stories and be like, okay, cool, like this is where I can go to and do something about it. Sometimes you feel so angry too because you feel helpless.
Yeah.
But being able to look to your peers and see like, well, this person has this knowledge about this, and now I'm educated on something, and I can make a difference by doing X, Y, and Z is also a very good point.
The poet Amanda Gorman is a great follow, because she's always like, first she'll like post a poem and you're like, oh my God, I'm crying.
Yeah.
Oh, Amanda. And then she'll post like all their resources and like the websites to go to, and she'll post a donation sticker.
Yeah. I was gonna just talk about
So
that.
it's like really amazing to see how she uses the platform.
Yeah, Planned Parenthood has been on a lot of my friends' donation stickers recently because of everything that's happening around abortion rights in the country. For you, Winnie, with K-Skin, how are you using the platform as an entrepreneur?
Everything as an entrepreneur for me is brand new. I've launched K-Skin about 3-4 months ago, so everything is like a learning curve. Even the first week of creating K-Skin, we had to pull back the whole launch. We're gonna have like a week launch tease situation, and Ukraine and Russia happened, So like, it's also about being able to recognize what's more important, when it comes to social media.
Yeah.
And we just didn't do that. We just launched it on the launch day, and that was it. But rather like talk about those things that are, important. And when we did end up launching, it was amazing. Like I was able to launch in Sephora, but then also DTC, and be able to talk to my following about what I was so excited about and how long I've worked on it. Worked on it for 2 to 3 years, all through the pandemic. It's my pandemic baby. And so, it was amazing to be able to launch with such help from a social following.
Yeah. And are you like using it to crowdsource for what you're gonna do next in any way?
Yes, 100%. Before I even launched, actually, when I was thinking about things like the fragrance, or how often people use SPF, because K-Skin is mainly SPF. We have products that are launching, and a new product right now called Deep Water Dew that's a body serum, and it's not SPF. But how often people are using SPF, and how important people thought it was, and how that helped me understand how much I needed other people to understand how important SPF is. And when it came to fragrance, like, do people like floral? Do people like nothing? Do people like fruity? And that allowed me to, again, be able to...
What do people like? Tell us what people like.
Well, I personally don't have the same opinions as the masses.
I like nothing.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, I found
Kind
that
of like earthy.
a lot of people
like
meditating
woodsy,
kind of.
like nothing. I don't mind nothing, but I like warmer, like vanilla type scents, but like not sweet candy vanilla, like real pure vanilla. Or like I like gourmand. I like stuff like that. Yeah. And I like musk. Yeah.
K-Skin, guys, available at Sephora.
Well, do you know what? what I realized was when I was doing that, you know, trying to figure out what I was going to do, a lot of people liked the earthy and the floral scents. So we kind of went like warm floral type scent. But then I was like, you know what, when we launched, any product that I want to create after this, I want it to be fragrance free, because what about people with sensitive skin? You know what I mean? So the new product that we launched, which is Deep Water Dew, I have it on right now, it's a little hydration. It is fragrance free. And then moving forward, I don't know if I'm gonna change, well, it's new brand. So we're gonna figure out if we're gonna change that or just the new products going forward. But
you've got time.
They're all natural fragrances though. Everything is like good for sensitive skin.
So one last question, they're telling me it's time, but I do want you all to share quickly kind of what is inspiring you right now. Is there a niche beauty trend? Is there a person in particular that you're following that you love? Is there a fashion designer? Just let us know who is inspiring you right now.
I always love following like young fashion designers. I feel really passionately about supporting designers early in their career. So there's a designer from South Africa, I believe, named Tebe Magugu, and like love Tebe's work. There's a designer named Peter Doe, who is Vietnamese American, based out of New York, that I love. I'm very much loving gardening right now, which is like a new thing for me. I started last week.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you start gardening?
No, I've had a green thumb since I was a little girl. My mom used to plant stuff with me all the time, and my grandmother had a garden. I'd pick fruits and vegetables and everything. I love gardening.
It's like, I feel like it's a trend, because hear me out.
Pandemic,
Hear me out. We're in Aspen right now.
Oh my God, I'm gonna show you an app to use that like tells you what's wrong with your plants.
All my plants are dying. I didn't say I was good at gardening, but I'm interested in it. But like the Dior show, for instance, was garden inspired.
Yes.
Like, I think it's like a gardening kind of trend right now. So I'm following a lot of gardening hashtags, and I always
amazing for the earth. I love that.
And then I follow the hashtag zero waste, because I'm trying to like reduce
your waste.
In my life. So
quickly, what about you, Winnie?
I am inspired always by the islands. I am an island girl. I'm Jamaican, and I think a lot of my my essence comes from being a Caribbean woman. So anything to do with island, beach, sun, music. I just want to really acknowledge and appreciate my culture and where I come from.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I'm super into fairy core if anyone want to know.
Have you
like
read the
all the
Sarah Maas
cosplay?
books? Have you read all the Sarah
Yes,
Maas
I
books?
have.
Like, we love that fairy
Yes,
series.
we love that. Okay, so now we're gonna take a couple questions from the audience. Oh, no time for questions?
No time
Oh no,
for
can we
questions?
take at least one question? I'm sorry, I ran. Oh, no, they're really good.
There's a guy in the control room
Literally going like this.
like he's dancing.
I know.
It's
I'm
like
sorry, guys. I got
really
so wrapped up in the
hustle.
convo. Oh, but like
no.
maybe we can stand off to the side outside
Yeah.
and maybe answer a couple questions. I apologize, everyone. I was so wrapped up in this great conversation that I left.
You did amazing.
Thank you, Jessica. You did great.
Thank you so much for coming, and we hope you guys enjoyed the conversation.